With Season of Discovery being out for about a month now and resets happening every 3 days instead of 7, well, Hunter is pretty much close to finished with gearing for Phase 1. And honestly, I'm looking to change to a Shadow Priest for Phase 2. So I'm looking at trying to get it geared as much as possible. And I started thinking, what gear should I prioritize for Phase 2? Because Phase 2 is looking like it's going to be coming out end of January, early February, which leaves us with about max maybe 12, 14 resets. And so I'm trying to target some gear. But I also want to know what gear I'm going to be getting from other things besides what gear I want to have in the raid. So let's make some 60 upgrade characters for Shadow Priest and see what gear we need to get before the end of Phase 1 and what gear we're looking to obtain when Phase 2 releases for Pre-bis for Gnomeregon. So for our helm, if you have engineering, you're going to be just going the engineering helm. It doesn't have any extra stats besides the damage, but the damage is actually insane. If you do not have engineering, your next best bet is going to be this helm from the raid because it gives you some intellect and it has the most damage of pretty much everything else. It's not really worth getting the tier pieces because it's just not as good as the helm and other pieces that you will be getting. But if you have engineering, you're going to be getting these. For our neck, we're going to be going for the Jagged Bone Necklace. It's, in my opinion, better, even though it has one less damage because of the spirit and the intellect on it. If you want to go for this, fine, but I will prefer the Jagged Neck. For our shoulders, our best ones are from Scarlet Monastery. They're slightly better than the Invoker's Mantle, and really most things from Classic just don't really give us spell power, so that is why it's just number one. It's just ever so slightly better than the Invoker's Mantle. So that's what we're going to be getting. For our cloak, we're going to be getting Cloak of Rot. If you get lucky from a World Shot, Black Forge Cape is also very good. But I'm going to be going for Cloak of Rot. For our chest piece, your Bis is actually Robe of the Magi, but most people are probably not going to be getting it because it is just a random world drop and it's going to be super expensive. So if you have the gold to dish out for it, by all means, but most people will not be able to afford that. Everybody else is going to be either going Shadowweave Robe or Dreamweave Vest, depending on how much mana you're hurting for. Shadowweave Robe gives you about 3 more damage, but only has 7 spirit, while Dreamweave Vest has 14 spirit, 9 intellect, and 18 damage. So, depending on if you're hurting for the extra mana and spirit, you're gonna either going Shadowweave Cloth or Dreamweave Vest. For our wrist, we're gonna be going Shadowweave Bracers, or if you're really good at PvP and you somehow grind it out to Exalted with the Warsun Gulch rep, by all means get these purple braces. They are very good and much better than Shadowwave Bracers, but it takes a long time to grind out for. So if you're not willing to grind out for that, Shadowwave Bracers is going to be your best bet. For your gloves, Dreamweave gloves is going to be your best bet. They're from Tailoring. They are better than Shadowwave just because they do more damage. They have some spirit on it. It has one less int, but I'm going to say Dreamweave is definitely better than Shadowweave. For the waist, we're going to want to get honored with the Arathi rep, which I would assume we'd be able to do in Stranglethorn Veil, just like we were able to do with Ashen Veil for Warsun Gulch rep. And we're going to be getting just the level 38 belt. For our legs, we're going to be getting these Shadowweave pants because they do a ton of damage. They have some stamina, but they don't really have much secondary stats. If you're really hurting for mana, red Mageweave pants is there with 12 intellect. However, you're hurting a lot from the drop in damage, but that's up to you. If you're really hurting for intellect, that's going to be your Pre-bis, but if you're not, then definitely Shadowweave pants. For our boots, if you have tailoring, the tailoring boots are just too hard to pass up with the hit and the stats that it just gives. If you don't have tailoring, I would say your next best bet, if you're hurting for mana, is going to be South Sea Mojo boots. Everybody should be able to do this. If you're not hurting for mana too much, then I would definitely go for these Highlander cloth boots from Revered. They do take a while to get, but it gives you some more stamina in exchange for int, so that's really up to you. But for most people, if you have tailoring, just stick with the crafted boots. It's just so much better. For our rings, we're going to be getting the Lore Keeper's ring from Honored with the Warsun Gold Rep and the ring from the raid. You would think, oh, why not the Underworld Band? Well, unless you have just money bags, you're not going to be getting this. It's just not going to happen. So we're going to be realistic, and we're going to get the options that you're probably going to actually be able to get, which is going to be the Warsun Gold ring and the ring from the raid. For our 2 trinkets, you're going to want the trinket from the raid, and really the secondary trinket is kind of up to you. If you're hurting for mana, Major Recombobulator is very good. For open world, Carrot on the Stick just increases your mount speed. It's really nice to have. Rune of Perfection is also really nice, reduces magical resistance of your spell targets by 20. Typically, you're going to want to have some of these in your raid just to lower the enemy's resistance. It'll help out everybody. The mechanical dragonlings, I don't know their exact damage, but they're pretty dang good. It's really nice. You shouldn't really need marker that's chosen. You only have a 2% chance to be increased, and it's when you're struck in combat, and you're probably not going to be being hit very much. So other options are just going to be better for you. If you were melee, you'd probably have more of a reason to go for it, but I would just go for other options. For our wand, we're probably going to just do Phoenix Ignition because it gives us our intellect. You could just stick with the Greystone Scepter from the raid quest, but if you're lucky enough to get the Phoenix Ignition, I would definitely go with that for the mana. Better than this is definitely Janus Firestarter, but you're probably not going to get this, again, unless you have money bags and you're able to buy it from the auction house. Phoenix Ignition is just going to be your best bet. Umbral Wand could also be good depending on what substance it is. I don't know exactly how much this gives right now, but if it ends up being more intellect than Phoenix Ignition, it could be a good option if you never got it. But we're going to pick Phoenix Ignition. For our main hand, it's definitely 100% the Staff from the raid. Nothing comes even close to it. Even Staff of Jordan loses to it. It's just really good. You just really want the staff. If you don't have the staff, obviously have staff of Jordan, but I guarantee you, you're probably not going to get it, and I do not think it's worth getting it at all when you can get the staff from the raid for completely free. Depending on what comes from Gnomeregon, you might still see casters farming the old raid for this, even into Gnomeregon, until they're able to get I assume there's going to be probably a better caster weapon in Gnomeregon, but until they get that, they might still just be farming BFD, trying to get the staff just because of how good it is. If you do not have the staff going into phase 2, your best bet is probably just going to be going Hypnotic Blade and Orb of the Foreseer from the Scarlet Monastery dungeon. It's pretty much just going to be your next best thing, but it doesn't compare to the staff, so you should just keep trying to go for the staff. For our talents, we are going to look at getting 5 into Spirit Tap, 2 into Improve Shadow Word Pain. Then we're going to get some reduced chance for them to resist our spells, improve our Mind Blast a little bit, get Mind Flay, get Shadow Wave, get Vampiric Embrace, get another point. Actually, we're going to take Shadow Infinity. Reduce our threat generated. Or if you don't really care about this, honestly, you'd probably just go into that. And then 5 in Darkness, 1 in Shadow form. If you're finding yourself getting threat more often, which you really shouldn't be, then you can take some out of this and put it into Shadow Infinity, but this should be just fine so that we don't get resisted. And this is pretty much what you want to go for. For our runes, for our chest, obviously we're going to get new runes, but we're going to pretty much just stick with Void Plague, Homunculi, and Penance until you hit 40. Then you're probably going to switch to Shadow Word Death because we don't want to come out of Shadow form. And that's what it's looking like for Shadow Priest for phase 2 Pre-bis for Gnomeregon. Obviously, once the raid comes out, this is going to change to raid gear. This is just for getting ready for the raid. If you have anything you want to comment on, just leave it in the comments. I'll see if I can respond to them. Because maybe, who knows, maybe I got something wrong. Maybe you found something I didn't find. And there's something better that we should be doing. But otherwise, this is Pre-bis for Phase 2 for Gnomeregon. And thank you.